And the final deck for the Miyaji Academy OTT setup is the Magus build. This revolves around the Pentagonal Magus and the 5 drive check ability, so it's pretty powerful, it's pretty cool. It does struggle against other protect gifts, obviously. However, overall it's a pretty good deck to play with. I'm just not entirely sure it's as good as the Imperial Daughter list. And I mean, it's definitely better than Coco, but that's not saying too much, even though Coco is my favorite of the 3. Anyways, on to the grade 0s. We're starting off with Lozenge Magus again, obviously. We have 8 crit, 4 draw, and 4 heal. Pretty standard in this deck. On to the grade 1s. We're running 4 Cure Magus. Super powerful card, allows you to look at the top 2 cards and rearrange them however you want. Then we run 3 Crescent Magus. When it is put into the trigger zone, if your Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, you can Soul Blast 1 to countercharge. That's pretty alright. I have seen people run either Farfall or Circle instead of this. Honestly, any of them is fine. I just run this because I think the countercharge is kind of important, but totally understand running the other ones. We have 3 Ripis Magus. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but on rearguard when it boosts, if you have a Vanguard with Magus in the name, it gets plus 5,000 power to the end of the turn. It's just a great booster. 13k is pretty good to add to just about anything. And the final grade 1 we're looking at is Tetra Magus. I talked about how much I like this card in the video earlier, but when placed, if your Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can Counterblast 1 to draw a card, reveal a crit from your hand, put it on top of your deck. So you're basically swapping a crit for the top card of your deck. You're not losing any hand advantage at all, but you're guaranteeing the trigger. That's so good. Honestly, the only thing that can really go wrong with that card is you accidentally draw into a heal sometimes, but even then, like, you're still getting the crit trigger effect off. As far as the grade 2s, we're going to be running 4 Silent Tom, super powerful card, and especially if you're going to be giving sometimes 5 triggers off of an effect, he can be pretty impossible to guard if they don't have the right cards in hand. And that's because your opponent can't call normal cards from their hand to guard it, and sometimes that's just real awkward. Then we have his other ability that when placed you can Counterblast 1 to give it 6,000 power to the end of the turn, also just okay, makes it a good beater. Rectangle Magus we're running 4 of as well. When placed on rearguard you can Counterblast and Soul Blast 1, look at the top 2 cards of your deck, rearrange them, and draw a card. And then also on top of that, when your drive check reveals a trigger, she gets 5,000 power, also very good. And the last grade 2 that we're going to be running is 4 Rhombus Magus. So she has the ability on rearguard that if you have a Vanguard with Magus in its name, until the end of that battle, this unit gets plus 5,000 power. If your Vanguard is grade 3, your opponent can't intercept as well. So it's a cool card, kind of negates a little bit of intercepting pressure, which is nice. It's a good swing for a 14k attack, which is also good. If you're coupling this with Reapies, you're swinging for 27, which is super powerful. You can hit Protect and Excel clans very hard. So it's just a good card in general. It's not too flashy or anything, but it does add a lot of pressure. Onto the grade 3s, we're running 4 Hexagonal Magus. This comes from the trial deck. When placed, you can Counterblast 1, look at 2 cards from the top of your deck, and put them back in any order, then you draw a card. So it kind of has the Rectangle Magus effect, except there's no Soul Blast cost, which is nice. And then when your drive check reveals a trigger unit, if this is on Vanguard or Rearguard, this card gets 5,000 power. So it's basically just the Vanguard version of a Rectangle Magus. So it's a fine card. Now, originally I thought that CEO would be a little bit better, however, Hexagonal just works so much better because her name actually has Magus in it. And there's so many cards that fit around that, like Rippies and Rhombus, but most importantly, it works with Pentagonal Magus. So, has the continuous ability on Vanguard that your trigger effects revealed by your drive checks give 5,000 extra power, so you're giving 15 total. And then when it attacks, you can Soul Blast to grade 3, discard 5 cards from your hand, and this unit gets plus 3 drive checks until the end of that battle. On top of that, you have to... But discarding cards from your hand for this cost is reduced for each rearguard with Magus in the front. For each rearguard with Magus in its card name in your front row. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks if you have a Silent Tom up there, but kind of making up for it. If you're finding that Silent Tom is becoming an issue with this deck, you can run Stellar Magus instead, or even Briolet Magus. However, I just don't think they're powerful enough to actually run. If we get another good grade 2, then maybe consider taking Silent Tom out. Anyways, getting 5 drive checks at 15,000 power each can be massive. Sometimes you're adding 75,000 power to the board, and that's huge. Keep in mind with that as well, if you have rectangle or hexagonal Magus on the field, they're each getting 5,000 power for each one as well. So it just keeps stacking on itself, and you're swinging for these insanely big numbers. Again, if they're Protect Clan, they can sometimes just stop these effects, which really hurts you. However, most times this is going to work out for you pretty well. Pentagonal is just a super fun deck to build. I wouldn't say it's the strongest choice, but it is one of the most entertaining ones to play. So what do you guys think of the deck? Make sure you let me know in the comments section below. How do you run it? What cards would you add or take away from this? And are you seeing any success with it? A big thank you to Akiwaza and Decimus, as they're my patrons. If you're looking to support the channel, you can check out the link down below. And with all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to try and get another 3 profiles out tomorrow. With all that being said, this has been Miracle Trigger, and I will see you in the next video.